Hey, hi, this is Gautam. Welcome back. So in this video, we'll learn how to read and understand a con call. Okay. See, uh, understanding a con call, understanding the contents of a con call is of course an essential step to equity research and investing. Without understanding con calls, you of course cannot make a good investor or equity analyst. Okay? And con calls, of course, is a very useful document for strategy and consulting professionals as well. All right. Okay. So this will be a short video series. It will have three videos. In video one, which is this video, we'll understand what is a con call, what is the format of a con call, and then we'll understand what information you need to look for in con calls. Okay? So we'll take the ConCalls of Narayana Hrudalaya, which is a hospital, as an example. Okay. In video two, we'll understand how to assess business moats using Narayana Hrudalaya ConCalls as an example. Okay. And in video three, I'll take you through examples of what other items you need to look for in ConCalls. Example, growth, margin, etc., etc. Specifically, I'll give you a framework that you can use to structure any company growth related information that is being shared in the ConCalls. All right. See, all of this will help you with your research of the company. It will help you with inputs to the valuation model. Okay. Because see, a lot of people just straight away jump to valuation without doing a thorough research on the company. Okay. So of course, analysis of con calls is of utmost importance for you to come up with good inputs to the valuation, reasonable inputs to the valuation model. Okay. And then of course, also the con call analysis will also help you form your investment thesis as well. Okay. So let's start with video one. So first, let's understand what is a con call. Okay. See, an earnings call or a con call is a conference or a meeting which is organized by the management of a publicly listed company to discuss the financial performance of the company with investors and equity analysts. All right. So typically, large companies they hold these con calls to discuss their financial performance every quarter. That is 4 times in 1 year. Now, small companies may or may not host 4 calls every year. Okay. They may just have like 2 calls in a year, or they may just have one annual general meeting in 1 year where they talk about their financial performance and then they take questions from the investor and analyst. Okay. So now, let's understand key format kya hai. What's the format of a con call? So what I'll do is in this video, I'll take you through the earning call transcripts or the con call of a company which is Narayana Hrudalaya, which is a hospital, which is publicly listed company in India. Okay, so we'll take that example. So I'll just pull up the con call of that company and take you through it. So first, let's understand the format. Okay. So I pulled up screener. Screen, let's say if I go down, okay, यहाँ पे so there is a con call वाला section. Okay, so let me go to March 2024. क्या हो गया? Sorry about that. So यहाँ पे there's a March 2024. So this is FY24 का. This would be FY24 Q4 का con call. Okay, so as I said, see, this company also publishes or it hosts 4 con calls every year. After every quarter, it hosts a con call. Okay, so May 2024 would be FY24 Q4 का con call. So let me just click on transcript. Okay, so the con call for FY24 Q4 opens up. Okay, so see the structure is, so you see the management. So of course, this is the management. So these are the participants. These are the hosts of the con call. Okay. So the first, what they do is they give the introduction. They they talk about the financial performance of the company. Okay. So the first 2-3 pages they talk about the performance of the company. Okay. And they may also talk about some industry trends as well. Okay. Uske baad, they open the floor to questions. Okay. They say, now I would see, if you see here, Nishant Singh is a part of the management of this company, Narayana Hrudalaya. So he says, now I would request everyone to raise their hands and start posing questions. Okay? So this Prithvi person is the first analyst, okay, to ask questions to the management. Okay, so this is how the format works, and then there is a question and answering round which happens. Okay, so the rest of the document is question and answers. So analysts asking questions and then management responding to those questions. Okay, to understand the performance of the company better. Okay. All right. See, now let's understand as to what should we look for, when going through these con calls, what is the information that essentially we should be looking for? So let's understand that. Okay. See, if the business that you want to analyze, it's a relatively new business. Okay? Since of course, the first thing you need to do is you need to understand the business model. Okay? Essentially, what I mean is you need to understand key, how the business makes money. Okay? All right. What are the sources, key sources of revenue for that business? Okay? And then customers, who are the customers and who are the suppliers. So that's the basic information that you need when you are, let's say, analyzing a business for the first time. Okay. All right. So that's one. Okay? Second thing is you also need to understand what business metrics they make up the business. Okay. Let's say Narayana Hrudalaya, is a hospital. Okay. So of course, in a hospital, you need to understand what business metrics they would explain the performance of a hospital. What metrics are used to assess the performance of a hospital. Okay. And when I say metrics, I'm talking about operating metrics. Okay. All right. So in the case of Narayana, the metrics in the case of hospital, the metrics are like number of beds, average revenue per bed, okay, and then average length of stay, which a patient stays. Uh, you know, so those are the some of the metrics which are used to assess the performance of a hospital. And आपको कहाँ से मिल सकते हैं वो metrics? You'll get a very good source of business metrics is investor presentation, okay, which is another document which is published by many companies. Okay, in fact, all large companies and medium mid cap companies, they publish investor presentation. In fact, even now small caps are also publishing investor presentations. All right. Okay. So usse that's a very good source of that's a go-to source to understand what operating metrics are used to assess a business. Okay. All right. And of course, in the con call, when you go through the con calls, you'll understand how these operating metrics have evolved over time and what's the reason behind, you know, the behind a metric has uh, behaved a certain way, all right, or metric has evolved a certain way. Okay. All right. See, the next piece of information that we need to look for is industry. We need to get a good handle, get a good sense on the industry. Okay? All right. And when I say industry, okay, so first and foremost, you need to understand which companies make up the industry. All right. So let's say in the case of Narayana, what other hospitals, okay, what other companies, what other hospitals, okay, are present in this industry. Okay. All right. So we need to understand the peer set. Okay. And then we need to understand what are some of the tailwinds or headwinds. See, uh, earning call transcripts or con calls, they are a phenomenal source of industry insights because essentially you get to listen to the management, you get to listen to the people who are running the business in that industry. Okay, so who better to give you industry insights, to give you information on the industry trends than the management, people who are on the ground running the business all the time. Okay, तो उनसे you get to understand कि what are the tailwinds, what is working in the industry vis-a-vis what is not working, what is working against the industry, headwinds. So you get that information. Of course, you cannot rely only on con calls. Okay? You of course have to look at other sources as well. Okay, all right. And so, and I've covered how do you like analyze an industry. I've covered in a separate video. I'll probably link it here. Yeah, but here I'm just trying to keep this content focused on con calls. Yeah, but my larger point is con calls are a very good source of information about industry insights. Yeah, not only tailwinds and headwinds, you also get to know कि management also talks about what are some of the factors which are driving demand in that industry. तो वो भी आपको पता लगता है when you go through a con call. Again, we'll take an example here. We'll take an example कि we'll take the Narayana Hrudalaya example to understand the demand drivers in one of the demand drivers in this industry, in the hospital industry. Okay? And then last not the least about the industry, you need to understand what is the current market size, okay? And what could be the future market size, what could be the market size in the future. That is something that you need to understand. If that information, many a times that information may not be explicitly provided to you. So in that case, what you need to do is you need to estimate the market size on your own. And I have already made a detailed LinkedIn post on how to size the market using both top down and bottom up approaches. So मैंने already detailed post डाला हुआ है in which I have taken 4-5 industry examples. I have taken examples from 4-5 different industries. की उनके how do you estimate the market size for in those industries? In fact, let me just flash that post. Okay. All right. So this is my LinkedIn post from 2 weeks ago. Okay. So if you see in this post, I talk about how to estimate market size both both top down and bottom up using both top down and bottom up approaches. Okay. All right. And I go on to and of course, as I said, see, market sizing is a very key step in equity research and investing. Okay. And in fact, market sizing is a favorite topic for strategy and consulting recruiters as well. Okay. All right. So here in this post, I talk about I discuss as to how we size the market in 4 different industries. Okay. So for health insurance, for two-wheelers, for hospitals, for asset management, and movie exhibition business. So I talk about 5 industries. कि इन 5 industry में how do you size the market? Okay. All right. So I have linked my video snippets, okay, in which I talk about the market sizing for these 4. How do you size the market in these 5 different industries? Okay. All right. And also, by the way, on this topic, I've also started an education letter, if you will, in which I send out education letters to people who have reached out to me so far, okay? And I keep them updated about my education posts on equity research and investing. So if in case you want to want to get my education letters, okay, all right. So and want to become equity analysts, investors, or so you please um, write to me, and I'll add you to my distribution list. All right. Okay. All right. Now let's just go back to my framework. All right. Yeah. See now. All right. So we are back to the slide. Okay. See, my point is, so you have to, if in case information about market size is not explicitly provided to you, so you need to size the market size on your own. That's a key step that you need to do. All right. So let's move forward. Right. See, one very key step, okay, in the analysis of any company, okay, all right, is you need to assess the moat of that business. Okay. So essentially, what is moat? Moat is key. What is the competitive advantage of that business vis-a-vis others in the industry? So Narayana Hrudalaya के case में, we need to assess कि does Narayana have any competitive advantage vis-a-vis other hospitals in the industry? That is something we need to assess. Okay. And what I'll do in this video is I'll give you a framework. Okay? I'll give you a framework as to how you can assess the moat in a given business. That would be a that would be a qualitative framework. So I'll just get to that framework in a bit. Okay. All right. But this is essentially something that we'll discuss in this video. All right. So moving forward. Okay. So another thing that you need to get a sense about from the analysis of ConCalls is you need to understand the growth. Okay. So essentially, you need to understand the reasons. If let's say the company has not grown well, so you need to understand the reasons behind the slow growth. Okay. All right. So the analyst will ask why the company has not been growing well. So and then they'll give out answers. So आपको पता लगेगा कि why the company has not grown well if in case that has been the case. All right. Okay. And also you would understand how the company plans to grow in the future, okay, and how do they plan to fund that growth. Okay, so let's say in the case of hospital, okay, do they plan to, let's say, open new hospitals? Do they plan to add new beds? Okay, and do they plan to, let's say, foray into new geographies? So all that information you will get from the con calls. Okay, and then how do they plan to fund that growth? Do they plan to fund that through equity, through debt? तो वो सब information आपको मिलेगा in the con calls, and of course how much money is needed to fund that growth as well. So okay, all right. See, in this call, I'll also give you a framework which will help you structure your thoughts and structure your analysis about future growth. Okay, so I'll walk you through that framework in a bit, and it will help you. Okay, so it will help you in your growth analysis and modeling of future growth. Okay. See, another thing that we of course need to understand from these con calls is the cost or the margin. Okay, all right. Say let's say if the company, okay, the margin of the company is pretty low vis-a-vis its peers. Of course, you cannot look at the operating margin or the profit margin in isolation. You have to compare it with other players in the industry. Okay, all right. So you have to do that. Okay. So if you see the margin of this company is lower vis-a-vis other players in the industry, so you need to understand the reason as to why this company is lagging behind in operating margin or in profit margin overall. Okay. So you will get the reasoning from these con calls. Okay. All right. And at the risk of repeating myself, see, con calls is not the only source of information. Of course, you have to combine whatever insights, whatever information you gather from these con calls with the information that you find in annual report, with the information that you have in investor presentation, so on and so forth. Okay. But usually, the questions that I have got from people is that people struggle a lot in analysis of con calls. That's why I'm making this video. All right. Yeah. So, any which ways, the other thing, so from cost and margin standpoint, that you need to understand from these con calls is again, what is the future guidance? Okay? In terms of will the cost increase in the future? अगर management कुछ कह रहा है कि will the cost increase in the future? So of course you have to model that in your valuation. You have to factor that in your valuation in your model. Okay? And of course, also need to understand do they have any plans to cut down costs in the future? So all that information you'll get in the con calls. Okay? That you need to document. Okay? And of course, working capital. Okay? So you need to first understand, is the business working capital intensive? And of course, there are some financial ratios that you can look at, okay, to understand typically is this business working capital intensive. All right. Okay. So and again, this is something that is a topic more for financial ratios. Of course, you need to analyze and interpret the financial ratios. I have made videos on interpretation, on computation and interpretation of financial ratios. Okay. All right. So if this business is working capital intensive and you see the working capital for this business, let's say Narayana, is, let's say, higher than the typical working capital requirements of the industry, then you need to understand from management what is happening here. Okay. And how also you need to get a sense of how will the working capital evolve in the future. Essentially, I'm talking about receivables, about inventory, or about payables. Okay, तो मैं उस चीजों की बात कर रहा हूँ. Okay, so if you see all of these points that I've listed here in this slide, these are the ingredients that you would need to value a business. Without getting a good sense about the business, okay, please do not jump to valuation. Okay? Equity research and valuation is not about the numbers only. You need to understand what's the narrative. You need to understand कि आपको business समझना है पहले. All right, and of course numbers will help you understand the business. लेकिन do not just jump to modeling, okay, without understanding all of these things which I have written here in this slide. Okay, all right, and last but not the least is we need to understand key if the management is walking the talk. Do they usually meet the guidance that they set out? Okay, so see, देखो, you cannot just go through one con call, right? You have to at least please at the minimum where you should go at least 3 years back in time, okay, and go through the con calls, go through all the con calls. पिछले 3 साल की. All right. If let's say if you are stressed, if you are pressed for time, okay, then at least at the bare minimum go through the Q4 con call of each of the prior 3 years. Q4 का con call of the prior 3 years. वो तो इतना bare minimum आपको करना चाहिए. All right. Okay. Right. Okay. So now let me pull up Narayana's earning call transcript and we'll go through that. Okay. So it will help you, put this theory. It will help you like put this theory into practice. Okay. कि how do you examples आपको समझ में आएगा कि आप कैसे con call को analyze करें. Okay. All right. And I'll be flipping across multiple con calls. Okay. And hopefully you should be able to understand as to what you need to look for in those con calls. Okay. All right. Please write to me if you have any questions. Also, write to me if you want to join my equity research and valuation cohort program, because in this program, I have analyzed in detail. I've analyzed and valued 3 companies from different industries. And please note that the research part in equity research and valuation involves detailed research of the industry, market size, and business of the company. And this understanding is instrumental in coming up with reasonable inputs to the valuation model. And as you know, a model, of course, is as good as its inputs. So this is a practical and hands-on program. I have strived to keep theory to a minimum and covered concepts to live exercises. So if you're serious about learning equity research and valuation, then you would certainly find this program helpful. All right. So please write to me if you want to join this program. Thank you.